Christ is king, it's where we belong. Stay with the dream, don't lose your way. Right way's the fire that'll light the day. Keep it simple, let the moment arrive. 3-8 trap keeps the hope alive. Hold on tight till the signal's near. Right way's the trail, we're breaking through fear.
Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for June 13th, 2025. Well, I apologize for my voice a little bit this morning, a little bit of allergy issues, a little bit of staying up way too late, trying to keep up on the news. If you have not heard the news, we wake up to a more dangerous world today, as Israel attacking Iran, taking out nuclear facilities, some the uranium enrichment facilities, also striking at the head of their military. So pretty dangerous situation. Of course, Iran has retaliated, and apparently, according to statements from Netanyahu, this will go on for as many days as it has to eliminate this threat. So, very interesting morning. This morning, we've got futures all looking pretty bearish here today, as you might suspect. And it looks like it'll be a little bit of a rough morning for the markets. Let's take a look at what we have going on overnight. Asian markets down across the board. Australia was down 1770. The Nikkei fell 338. India was down 169. Hong Kong was down 142, Shanghai down 2566, South Korea was down I think about 25 points. If we take a look at European markets this morning, they are decidedly bearish, with the DAX down 359 points. The FTSE is down 41 points, and the CAC is down 94 points. Looking at the U.S. futures this morning, also lower, but they have rallied substantially off of overnight lows. We were down as much as 600 points. We have Dow futures right now down 491 points. S&P 500 futures down 69 points. NASDAQ futures down 315 points this morning. So expect a little bit of pain. Now, you know that I've been talking about be prepared for some kind of sell-off. I was not expecting this kind of thing. I was expecting more of a profit-taking sell-off, but obviously it's these kind of things that can trigger some pretty ugly responses in the market. So let's take a look at other things in here. Let's take a look at our bonds here this morning. Right now, bond yields, 2-year bonds, 3.93%. The 10-year bonds coming in at 4.37%, and the 30-year bonds have been falling, and they are at 4.86%. If we take a look at what is happening to the U.S. dollar here this morning, U.S. dollar is trying to bounce back up after yesterday's low, so we'll want to keep an eye on that. Dollar futures right at the moment are up 56 cents. I don't exactly know why we're getting such a big bounce here on that, but that is a pretty good recovery there on the dollar. What's interesting is, even as that is going on, we've got gold continuing to go up. And like you'd expect, when we get into a very uncertain situation, people seek safety. And right now, gold futures are up $33 and $33.80 an ounce, $3,435 an ounce at the moment. So keep an eye on that, as this really is pushing higher. Silver is also a little bit higher here this morning. You can see it's pulled back from its high there in the pre-market. Oh, I'm sorry. It has, while I was preparing, it did pull back to negative. Right now, silver is down about half a cent at the moment. Now up about half a cent, but we're at 36.30 an ounce on silver here this morning. So keep an eye on that. Copper, which finished the day higher yesterday after starting down, is now lower this morning. Feeling a little bit of this bearish pressure around the market. We've got copper down 10.5 cents. Platinum is down 26.20, and palladium falling by another $1.90 here this morning. So keep an eye on those precious metals. If we were to take a look at what's going on in crypto here this morning, well, pretty rough. As you might expect, right now, Bitcoin down $2,516 a coin. We have Ether, that's 2.35%. Ether falling a whopping $188 a coin, which is 6.94%. Now, so far, that hasn't hurt this. Technically, we're still holding on to this support area. So watch that closely. We could bounce right up off of there, too. So keep a close eye on ETHA. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Friday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these index charts. Try not to panic. And then let's see how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to look at these charts for what they are, not for what we would want them to be. We want to shake off that bias. So first off, this morning, you can see we're breaking down below this little tight consolidation that we've had here in the Dow. And unfortunately, these little tiny candles actually are producing very big price action moves from the elevation that we are at right now. If the bears were to keep pushing here this morning, I think the area of support that we're likely to seek would be down in this area of the chart. Of course, failing through there, we would push down into this area. Now, just to give you an idea of what that looks like, let's take a look from the Dow. If I were to measure from about where we are this morning and push this down into this next area of support, that's 296 more points lower. If we were to come down into here, that's 748 points lower. If I were to look at this with our moving averages in here and say that we were to maybe move down into this 50-day moving average, that's 1,372 points lower. And that's one of the issues when we get so elevated in the market and we run into that situation where these big moves are possible, real painful moves. So hopefully you've got a plan to protect yourself. Now, if I were to draw a trend right up through here, well, we're losing that trend just a tiny little bit here this morning. Now, keep in mind we could bounce right back up, but watch that carefully. I suspect the tension on this conflict is going to be higher than what we've seen here recently, because this can definitely affect the United States. We've got a lot of troop bases in Iran. And the president is already warned, you retaliate against us and you're in big trouble. So we will see, but obviously this has a little bit of tension, and you can understand how going into this weekend, how that could be significant tension on the markets. Now, if the bulls can find inspiration here on the day, well, the first thing they need to do is push back up, see if they can break back up into that little consolidation. And then, of course, if they can do that, well, then they can push right back up. Maybe we can retest some of those highs that we've seen here recently in the market. If we take a look at the SPY real quick, our SPY also taking a little bit of a hit today. It looks like little or nothing because of these little tiny candles, but they're big point moves here in the market. Once again, this little upside trend in there, we have started to give up that upside trend. I need to change this tool again. So we've started to give up that little upside trend, and if the bears were to continue to push, you can see overnight we came down in here and tested this area of price support. If this area were to fail, then I think our next area lower might be down here in the bottom side of these. Now, looking at our moving averages in here, remember we are extremely elevated in the SPY and the QQQ because of the push of big tech. If things were to really get bad and we were to push back to the 200, which was not out of the question, big point moves are possible. So be prepared. I don't know how long this will last. I don't know how long the market will react negatively to this, but I suspect this is going to be substantial. Now, if we take a look, if the bulls can find inspiration, first thing we need to do is break back through that resistance. And if we can do that, then we might be right back up here testing these highs. And I got to tell you, the way the market has been willing to shrug off pretty much anything just to pile into tech, you certainly can't rule out that possibility. If we take a look at our QQQ, the most overextended index in the market so far. So a pullback in here back just to the 200-day would be substantial. Big point moves are possible in here. So watch that closely. But if the bears were to have anything more to say in here today after breaking down through that little support area, you can see that possibility of pulling back into here, maybe even sliding a little bit lower, maybe back down into this area. I think all is possible within the day. So watch that carefully. If the bulls can find inspiration breaking back through that resistance up here, maybe we could stretch back up toward those recent highs. And then IWM has been pulling back and was holding in this bullish pattern, and I still think there is that possibility here on IWM that we might catch a little price support right in here and set up a little bit of a bullish pattern if we could bounce back in here. But with the pressure that we see in the overall market, it's not out of the question that that goes right back there and ends up retesting that 500-day moving average again. So if the bears have anything more to say, I would be looking at areas right down in here and then possibly slipping a little bit lower down in this area of support in IWM. If the bulls can have anything to say here, well, first thing we want to do is we want to fill that gap back up here in IWM and then start looking a little bit higher in here, see if we can push on through to that upside. So watch that carefully here on the Russell. Now, if we take a look at our VIX, my goodness, this is going to spike our VIX here a little bit today. You can expect, as I've said many times, that first step is break this downtrend. We kind of did that yesterday, bouncing around the bulls to try to hold in there pretty strong overall. But with this gap up this morning, I see that potential that we could be pushing up in here toward those 20 handles on the VIX. And even we might come back up in here retesting some of this area in the chart if that fear really starts to pick up in the market. So watch that carefully. If the bulls were to overcome that fear and push back, well, then I think a retest of this low might be the first area that we'd be looking to see if we can hold that. And then, of course, we would go down here beyond that if the bulls were to really push and say, we don't care about this, we just want to buy something. And I think that's certainly a possibility that that could occur. If we take a look at our VIX, not our VIX, our T20s. Our T2122 yesterday did pull back in here, and you can see we left a little bit of a hook. We had a major surge right at the end of the day. I mean, within the last 2 minutes of the day, a big surge to the upside to push the Dow up and close at a high of the day. So unfortunately, that's going to trap a lot of people in an ugly situation here this morning that I'm guessing we're buying or have been buying into that move last night, and they're going to feel a little bit of pain here this morning. So watch that carefully. But if the bulls can push on through this data and not really worry about what we've got going on in the geopolitical situation, then that push up here is certainly possible. So watch carefully there if the bulls can get going. But what we're seeing this morning with the bearish move, I'm guessing we're going to be starting much lower in this move this morning, and we could easily reach the bearish engulfing or the bearish reversal zone, bullish reversal zone with this gap down and the push lower here today. If we push on down, we could be right down in this zone really quickly, keeping in mind that we have lingered here for a long time, and oftentimes when we linger here for a long time, we can linger down here for a period of time as well. So just kind of keep that in mind. If we take a look at our T2108, T2108 yesterday finished the day pretty good shape, just a little bit of a flat look on that big surge right at the end of the day. 66% of the stocks above their 40-day moving average. Now, if the bulls can push us right on through, then it's not that much further up here to about 70% of the stocks above their 40-day. And that's where we dip into that zone that is very, very frothy, and we'd be expecting a pullback anyway. Unfortunately, today it's being done for us with this new conflict, and I suspect this is going to decline fairly sharply here today. We've got some price support right in here around 60. We've got some good price support in here around 50. I would not rule out the possibility that we could be testing these levels here pretty quickly in T2108. T2107 had a little bit of a hockey stick up here in the air, a little bit of decline yesterday. Nothing major, just a little bit. 37% of the stocks above their 200-day. If the bulls can get going, then maybe we can break through this area of resistance here and stretch up into that level of the chart. So up there toward 40%, and a fairly strong area resistance up there at 40%. If we get what is suspected or what's showing in the pre-market, a sharp pullback is likely. I doubt this area is going to hold as support, but perhaps if we look across here, we might catch some support around 30% of the stocks above their 40-day moving average. Beyond that, we don't have a lot of great support in here, maybe around 25% of the stocks. So certainly a possibility that we could see that substantial kind of pullback. Now, if we look at T2101, T2101 was hinting yesterday that it still wanted to try and press higher. It started out down, it went flat, and then by the end of the day with that surge, we saw that breadth trying to push just a little bit higher. So watch that carefully here today. Now we've got this downtrend here in that breadth. We've been weakening in that breadth in this entire upside rally. So watch that carefully. If the bears take over here on the breadth and we see that spike out on a bearish move, remember all of this move over here was based on the bears. we could certainly see this spiking up with the bearish energy in the market today. So watch that closely. What would be a surprise to me is if the bears don't do that and we actually see that breadth roll over. If the breadth rolls over to the downside, that should be encouraging to the bulls that this may not last very long. So watch that carefully. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. And our economic calendar, well, we've got almost nothing to be worried about here today. We've got a consumer sentiment number out this morning. They're looking for that to improve to 53.5. up from a 53.2, and of course the year ahead inflation expectations, I would suspect that's going to decline with the numbers that we've seen in CPI and PPI. We should see that coming down because the fear mongering on tariffs has not played out, at least to this point. Still has that potential that it could. After that, we've got a Baker Hughes rig count to finish up the day. Now, if we take a look at the earnings calendar, well, it's even more boring. There is really nothing. There's no notable here for today. The only company reporting today, MNY, it's an 83-cent stock, and you can see it's moving down here. Not going to move the market at all. That's it for earnings reports today. There's nothing else to provide inspiration. So we don't have a whole lot on the economic front to move us much. We don't have much in earnings to move us. And then, of course, with what we've got going on, it's likely going to be the news cycle and whatever happens over there between Israel and Iran that is likely going to be the catalyst for more movement in the market. So just keep that in mind. Remember, as we slip into the weekend with this uncertainty, can't rule out the possibility of some selling into the close, just simply because people wanting to get out of the way, take those profits and get out of the way of the uncertainty before we head into a weekend where, of course, anything is possible. So watch carefully for that possibility. So how about we take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube. Also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could leave me that brief comment, that helps the channel to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. I want to remind everyone that we still have our special going on, that if you would like to be a part of Right Way Options or had a curiosity about what we do over there, you could come on over and visit us for 30 days for $7. Love to have you take a look. We every day we do a lot of really good education and try to help folks with their trading and improving their trading. So if you find that interesting, for $7, can't even go get a single meal at McDonald's for $7 anymore, and you get to spend 30 days with us. So take a look at that if you have an interest. Let's take a peek at some of these stocks that could be setting up. But I got to tell you guys, the stocks that are of interest in here that I had marked out for potential today are going to change dramatically today in all likelihood. So just kind of keep that in mind. One of the places that you might want to look for a little bit of safety in the market, start taking a look at some of the things in here like precious metals, gold. If this is a little bit too expensive for you in GLD, maybe take a look at PHYS. PHYS is a physical gold. You actually put your name on physical gold in here, and it is much cheaper to trade. if you have an interest in something like that. You could look at some of the miners. I suspect miners will be doing quite well. Should be doing quite well today. Take a look at GDX, GDXY. You could take a look at individual stocks out there like Royal Gold, Barrick Gold. Taking a look at some of those miners could be a good place to maybe catch a little bit of safety in the market. Other places, old boring stocks that pay a strong dividend. Now, I have a bias here on AT&T because I'm holding AT&T, and you can see it's not getting anything major action in here today. But that is almost a blessing today. To not have some big price action moves here and still holding this little modest upside trend. If you're looking for a little bit of safety, maybe look to things like AT&T. You might want to take a look at something like Philip Morris in here. Still doing very, very good. In this, in an area like this, defensive sector stocks with good dividend payers. Interesting place to be. You could take a look at Altria trying to come back up. You could take a look maybe at Coke. Coke's been trying to come around a little bit. Take a look at Monster. Monster's continuing to hold up and may still be setting up for more upside move here in the market. So take a look at some stocks like that. You might look into some of the commodity areas of the market. Take a look at things like CF Industries. CF Industries has been looking really good. Food, agriculture, that's another safety place in the market. You can see we're getting a little bit of bullishness in that here today, so keep an eye on that. Mosaic has been tremendous here. You could look at some of the grain commodities out there, and maybe DBX. Looks like we're getting a gap down here on DBX, but keep an eye on that. If we continue to see weakness in the US dollar, I would start looking for those grain commodities to start coming back up. Of course, take a look in the oil sector. Oil is going to get really expensive in the short term on this move. So if we take a look at XLE, big gap up here in XLE this morning. Those that are already in it, congratulations. But you can see like Devon Energy, ExxonMobil, ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips, EQT. We're going to see a lot of oil movement to the upside, because right now we've got oil futures up $5.70 a barrel at $73.75 a barrel this morning. So really spiking in oil. You might be able to find some security in there. You might want to look to some natural gas as well. Right now, natural gas has been ugly, but natural gas will also be important in this conflict, so watch that carefully on that. You might want to look to things like RTX, Raytheon. Weapons are going to be built, as you might imagine, so look to aerospace, defense stocks in there. Keep an eye on that. You could look at maybe General Dynamics. You could take a look at Lockheed Martin. Take a look at Northrop Grumman. Those are all in very bullish moves here this morning, and if this conflict continues or even expands, you could see those companies do very well. So look to some of those basics, those things that everyone's going to need. Look to some of those things. We could see that rotation out of some of the tech start rolling into these old defensive type stocks, commodity type stocks, agriculture type stocks, strong dividend payers where there's a little bit of safety in the market. So watch carefully for those possibilities today. So with that, everyone, hey, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. One of the first things we want to do is just not panic. We want to focus carefully on what our positions are. Act responsibly, no knee-jerk reactions. Just stay focused, stay disciplined in what you do, and this will pass. This will pass. In my career, I've been doing this for over 30 years, and these things happen from time to time, and the market always comes back. There are times when you think, oh my gosh, this is never going to end, but it does, and it comes back around. So just be careful, be safe in the market. Try not to over trade, and don't be surprised if we continue to see this pressure today heading into the weekend. Could be a little bit intense if we get any more news out of that region. So watch for those news reports and just manage your positions. So with that, everyone, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. Wish you great results in your trading. And as always, I wish you all the very best. Have a wonderful day. Have a great weekend. And for all the fathers out there, happy Father's Day. Take care, everyone.
Black and white candles, my stars in the dark. Price is my king, got that fire and spark. Rideways my ranch on the trader's trail. Trading with heart where the profits prevail.